morning. I'm just sharing a little bit about my journey into um, trying to get in touch a little bit with what are my ancestors. So my mom did like one of those 23andMe or something. I don't know what she did it through Ancestry or something. And, obviously, my ancestry is very much European, Polish, Ukrainian. I think there's a little bit of French in there, but basic Polish Ukrainian descent. And so my journey recently has been taking me into like somatic therapy, learning more about how we store emotions in the body and being more in tune with what our body is telling us, and healing through movement versus just talking about what's bothering us, right? Because I'm a therapist, and so a lot of talking, a lot of cognitive thought, sentence structure, like what am I believing? And I do this here, right? Because I'm like in my mind, I'm thinking these things. We can do a lot of work there, but really thinking about how we can do healing like from the bottom up, if you will, right? So like body focused, feeling focused, nervous system focused, not necessarily the words that our brain is coming up with, but like what experiences we're having in the moment. And so watching a video on a lot of indigenous practices use, music for healing and massage for healing and hypnotic dance and the use of psychedelics and all of these other practices that you wouldn't necessarily pair with mental health and therapy, but where your mental health is ultimately improved, right? Because they are doing the healing practices of their ancestors and focusing more on the body and community as well, right? The whole system, not just you as an individual, but you in regards to the system that you are in now, right? So kind of thinking about those things, and then just being so right, so sad. It's like I don't have, right, and of course I don't want to steal a Native American practice, right? I don't want to steal the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono. I think that's how you say it. Um, Sorry, I have previously said the word so naturally, and I've been away from Hawaii for so long that I actually need to go look that up. Anyway, right, like I don't want to like steal another culture's practices. I think they are very important. I think using some of those practices, embracing some of those practices, if they are practices that work and are healing and are done with respect. And also, my ancestors, although we've lost a lot of that knowledge, did leave behind some healing practices. And it will take effort from me, but that's is what it is, right? Like my ancestors also brought Christianity in and stifled the practices of other people's history, and they worked hard to keep those practices and to remember their languages. And my ancestors came in and did everything they could to beat that physically and emotionally out of whole communities. And so if it's going to be hard, it's going to be hard. And I'm not going to have all of the information. We don't have all of the information. And I think a lot of this is learning what you can about what's already in existence, reading books about what other people have researched and found in books, in stories, in the land. It's going to be hard for me because I'm not in the land of my ancestors, right? My ancestors again are Poland, Ukrainian, and we came over at some point in the 17th, 18th, I don't even know, 18th century, 18th century, 1800s. So some of it will be practices that exist, and some of it will be, I think you have to come up with your own practices. And the good news about that is the ancient people had to do that as well. That's where they came up with these practices. And so they will be new practices and they will be old practices, because nothing is new when it comes to spirituality. I think that's the thing, right? Christianity tried to pretend like they had the they had the key to everything. Like they had this thing that nobody else had, and they just had a different version of what everybody else had, and they used it. And the ancient folks all felt spiritually connected to Mother Earth or God, if you will, or the forces of the world, things that feel larger than an individual human or humans. And we all still can lean into those things. Those things all have always existed. They just practiced around it and thought about it differently. And so I get to do the same. I get to think about it however I want. I get to practice however I want. And I think it'll be very interesting to learn, if I can, some of the history of my own people. And if I don't learn, I don't know, the proper, right? If it's not super accurate, that is what it is. That's what happens when culture is smothered. I've learned, one of the small things that I have learned is that the Slavic folks kept a lot of their mythology and their folklore, and so it was like a dual religion, I think they called it. And so Christianity was forced on them, but they kept both. So they did Christianity out of necessity, because otherwise they were sacrificed, right? Literally killed, tortured. And so they took it on, but they also kept a lot of their old mythology and folklore and practices. And so that's what I want to learn about. Okay. And this will be the first video in what hopefully is a journey. And I'll share some of the resources, and I'll see where this journey takes me. I don't know.